determined that he would go to that school. When he was 16 years old, with the help of community members that saw this bright young man that wanted this education, they supported him financially, he would make a 500-mile walk to go to Hampton. And that walk took a long time, as you could imagine. He had to take several odd jobs along the way when he ran out of money. He slept outside, he slept under bridges. And the lesson for young people, for students, is that he wanted an education so badly that there was no obstacle or challenge that was going to be insurmountable. And so he would make that long journey. He would eventually get to Hampton. He would go straight to the headmistress of the school and say, I want to go to school here. And she looks at him, and after that journey, he's his clothes are torn, he's disheveled, probably didn't smell that great. And she looked at him and said, young man, you are not worthy for admittance into this institution. Go on about your business. He wasn't going to take no for an answer. So he came back the next day, and she shooed him away. And he kept coming back, and he kept coming back. And then finally she said, okay, I can see you're not going to take no. So she said, I'm going to give you an opportunity to prove yourself. There is a dirty classroom down the hallway. Go clean that. Let's see what you can do. Well, he had learned the value of hard work, working in those mines at night, and now he's going to be able to put those skills to the test. And he went in there and he cleaned and he cleaned. And when he got finished, she came in to do what they used to do back in the day, the white glove test. Some of y'all probably remember that, where you put on the glove and she's looking for dirt on the windowsills, the chairs, the tables. Not only couldn't she find dirt, she couldn't find one speck of dust. That room was pristine. And so she looked at him and said, you have proven yourself worthy of admittance, and not only that, we're going to give you the job as a janitor so you can work your way through college. And so he would start Hampton at 16 years old. He would graduate just 3 years later, come back to Hampton and teach. And then in 1881, there was a group of people down in this place called Tuskegee, Alabama, that had some money to start a school in the same kind of model of an industrial education as Hampton was. Word got back to the group that there was this young teacher, Booker T. Washington, at Hampton that would probably make a great principal and founder of the school. Booker T. accepted the job. He rushed down to Tuskegee to get started, and he's looking around for an old schoolhouse, a church, somewhere he can begin his lessons in a formal setting. But there was nothing but dirt, farmland, as far as the eye could see. But again, he didn't get discouraged. He started recruiting students. He started getting them excited about getting an education. And then one of the first things that he taught them to do was to make bricks. And you could probably imagine why he taught them how to make bricks, so that they could build their own school. And if you do a Google search, Tuskegee students at the founding, you will find these photographs of these students that were out there laboring away in the hot sun, building their own school, because that's how badly they wanted an education. Now, Booker T. understood that the education at Tuskegee had to start with the basics. Sometimes that meant hygiene, teaching them how to tie their shoes, how to brush their teeth. But what he did was he taught them a tool like entrepreneurship, how to farm the land, how to make dresses, so that these students could have a stake in the nation's growing economy. Because Booker T's philosophy, he understood that you couldn't start reaching for the higher aims in life until you met your basic needs in life. And he also understood that coming out of 400 years of oppression and enslavement, that there were really two questions. You had the moral question that slavery was morally wrong, but some of those white abolitionists and others that believed that slavery was morally wrong didn't believe that black people were equal to white people. And so Booker T understood that he wasn't going to get people just to change their racist ideology overnight. So he showed free black people how they could change themselves, how they could overcome obstacles, develop strength of character, and rise by their own efforts to honorable positions of respect, but most importantly, self-esteem. So Washington was a leader who brought stability in a time of transition from enslavement to freedom, and it may be said that he's the person that bridged the gap between the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation and the Civil Rights Movement. So when Frederick Douglass passes away in 1895, that mantle of leadership for black people transfers over to Booker T. Washington, and his legacy continues on with Tuskegee University, which has educated millions of people since 1881. So it's a very important legacy. One of the questions that I get all the time, and some of you may be thinking this now, is the debate between Du Bois, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Booker T. Washington. And the way that I always talk about this is that they both were right. You know, there's not just one way to advance your people. Du Bois worked from the top down, and Washington worked from the bottom up, and advancement met in the middle. And I always say to students when they ask me that question is, they came from different worlds. Booker T. Washington was born into slavery. He came from a field with a till under his arms. Du Bois was born free. He came from the city with books under his arms. So it's natural that they're going to have different philosophies. And again, they both were right. So here we are in Old Washington. And as you heard from Amanda, this is where you're going to drop off your postcards. Yeah. Yeah, as you're getting off, just hand them to Amanda, and then we'll go ahead and take them to the post office. This is where we're going to take our bathroom break, and then we